What's going on, everybody? This is Brandon Hill, and today I'm going to show you the top 16 machine controller shortcuts that I use when making beats. Hopefully you could use some of these to speed up and enhance your workflow. So let's get into it. Okay, so before we get into these shortcuts, I just want to cover that I'm not going to cover the basics here, which basically is like shift undo, redo, shift step undo, redo, and shift quantize, because I feel like most users, even beginners, know how to use those shortcuts. So I want to show you ones that you may not know so you could actually add it to your workflow. So starting off with shortcut number 1 is to pin all of your menus here. So these different controller modes like scene, pattern, events, you see how when I press it, the mode stays on like that. By default, it's usually like this, which yours might be at this point. So I would press scene and then I let go and it goes back to the screen before. Or I press pattern and it'll go back to the screen before. So if you want to adjust your patterns, you kind of have to hold that, make adjustments here like that, which can be really inconvenient. So what you could do, if you haven't already, hit pattern and you want to make sure this up here is highlighted. So now that is pinned. And do that with all of your menus here. I recommend doing it with all of these. Okay, that'll speed up your workflow a lot. Tip number 2 is that you can toggle between ideas view and song view with the controller by using shift, song, shift, ideas. So what you want to do, you make sure you're in this arranger view first, and whatever you're on, right now we're on ideas view, you hit shift, song, now you're in song view. Now you could start creating your arrangement, for example, and if you want to go back to ideas, you're here. Controller shortcut number 3 is that you could predetermine the length of the pattern that you want to record by hitting shift record and holding record. So when I hit shift record, I'm going to hold it. Up here, you'll see some options here, 2, 4, 8, 16, I think, and you'll be able to choose the amount of bars that you want to create. So if I want to create a new drum pattern here, I'm going to hit shift record, choose 4 bars. Okay, so that's one way to, if you already have in your mind that you want to record a certain number of bars, you could use that shortcut there. Number 4 is to use shift and mute, which activates the secondary function on this button, which says choke. And what that will do, it'll stop playing any sound that is currently playing in the software or on the controller. So for example, if you're browsing groups, and you want this sound to stop, you can hit shift choke. Or if you're playing a loop, for example, like if you have a loop in here and it's playing, you could press stop. So here it is with the loop. Or if you have the tail end of a sound that is just continuing to play, use shift choke. Anytime you want the sound to stop, to have some silence, use shift choke. It's very useful. Controller shortcut number 5 is to use shift and browser to quickly add a plugin to a sound. So typically, let's say you're in a mode, you want to add a plugin or effect, you would go to plugin, you would go over here, you press that, and then you would add your plugin, right? So one quicker way to do it, which will save you a few seconds, you could be on a sound and hit shift, browser plugin, and you'll automatically be able to choose an effect to put on there. So you could quickly add something like a filter or whatever. Controller shortcut number 6 is to use shift, select, and press any of these pads to select all the events for a pad in a pattern. So imagine I want to edit all of the open hi-hats number 8 right here. I could hit shift, select, 8, all of them are highlighted. Now I could adjust those, I can move them if I want. I could adjust it up here and change things, okay? And then if you want to select another one, like the kick, for example, shift select kick. And you have to unselect this one. So this allows you to quickly select and edit these notes, which is important when it comes to note editing, and it's a fast way to do it. Controller tip number 7 is to use copy and paste with a pattern to another group so you could create layering when you change out the sound. So for example, if I'm in ideas view here and I'm in this group, and right now this is a bass. So let me solo that. So imagine I want to copy this pattern. I'm going to hit shift, copy. Right now pattern 1 is selected. I'm going to go to my new group and hit shift, paste. Now I have this here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new sound to this. So let me find a sound. Let's see if I can find a decent one right now. So now if I solo this, let's see. Let's do polysynth. No. Let me just add this to it and we'll see how it sounds. Okay. Now I'm going to unmute the original. And I could bring this up so it's a little more present. So now I've created a layer. I have this base here and I have this layer, and I could bring them in and out when I make an arrangement, but definitely utilize shift, copy, and paste with patterns, and you could easily create layers like this. Another thing that you should utilize, let's say that I have this here, right? I'm going to solo and just keep this. Right now I have all this selected. I could use shift octave up to shift all those notes up an octave, so I could have this layer be in a higher pitch. And I could do octave down. And you could see where you like that. That's controller shortcut number 8. Shortcut number 9 is to utilize this duplicate button right here when it comes to patterns and scenes. Okay, so imagine I'm in pattern mode and I want to duplicate this and make a different version of it. You could use this duplicate and do that, or I could duplicate it and put it right here. And now you can see in your software, you can make these adjustments. So maybe this pattern, you want to shift it up an octave, and you could kind of experiment with this one versus this one. Okay, and now let's say I'm in scene mode and I want to duplicate this scene, so I could create another one and create a variation. Duplicate scene, put it right there, all right? So now in the software you see I have these two scenes. Maybe with this scene, I'll have this one with the lower octave, and in this scene, I'll have this one with the higher octave. And now I have these two. So get used to using that duplicate button. I showed you with scenes and patterns, but you can also do it in pad mode if you want to duplicate this and then change out the sound of that as well. So you could do that. Shortcut number 10 is to also use duplicate when you're in ideas view. So imagine I'm here, I want to do the same thing. I want to duplicate this scene. Do shift, duplicate up here. Now you have scene, another one. Shift, duplicate, and now you can make all these adjustments with all your scenes and whatnot. So that's a helpful one that speeds up my workflow when I'm really trying to create a lot of scenes quickly. While we're talking about duplication, another way you could do it is that if you're going through patterns right here, let's say you want to duplicate this one, you can press this duplicate button and it's going to duplicate that pattern right next to it. So now you have that there. Or if you're in the scene, you want to duplicate this, it's going to move this one up here and then put a new one right there. So duplicate, and there you have that. So duplicating is something that you're going to do a lot, which is why I wanted to show you all the different ways that you could do it, because it's really going to speed up your workflow. Controller shortcut number 12 is that you can use Shift Clear Auto to quickly erase any automation that you recorded. So I recorded an automation on this baseline right here. It's a filter, and the filter is opening up. If I want to delete that, just Shift Clear Auto, okay? And now you could start over and you could re-record it and so forth. Shortcut 14 is that you could press Shift, this tap button, to turn on the metronome, and now you have the metronome activated. And to take it off, Shift right there, okay? Shortcut 15 will show you how to move your groups around. So if I go to pad mode and I have these groups here, imagine that I'm just going to name this base. Let's do base 2. And sometimes you may have personal preferences that you want your groups to be in a certain order. So what you can do is you can hit Shift, or if I'm in a pad mode, Shift, I'm on this group right here, which is selected. I can move that left and right. So if I'm here, I can move base 2 to be next to base 1, right? Or I could take this kit right here, move it over like that, if you choose. And this comes in handy once you start to build out a lot of these groups and you want to provide, or you want to keep some sort of organization to make it easier for you to work within your project. Finally, shortcut 16 is that you could use this 40 encoder with note editing to change the lengths of notes in your pattern. So if I'm here in events mode and here I am with the baseline, I'll solo it, go back to events mode. Let me zoom in on this. Okay. Let's imagine that I want to lengthen some of these notes. Like for example, I may want to lengthen this note so it carries on a little longer. What I could do is I could find that note, and let's say I want this one. I press the 40 encoder in and I could drag it like that to make it longer, okay? So I could do it with this one, for example, and keep navigating like this. Make it shorter if I want. Let's do this one. Nope, this one here. So now you could use this 40 encoder to change the length without having to do it in the software, so you could do it on the fly. Okay, and those are the top 16 machine controller shortcuts that I personally use in my workflow the most. I hope you were able to learn something. Let me know if you did, and I'll get started on the next video. Thanks.